Hello, dear students. Welcome to the English class. In this session, we will study about the lesson A Sunny Morning. Okay, Sunny Morning is a story. It is a drama, and it is a tragic love story of Donna Laura and Don Gonzalo. See, when they were young, they were fallen in love with each other, but because of some circumstances, they were separated. Now, after 70 years, now they are 70 years old people. Now, suddenly they met in the Madrid park. When they met, initially they were failed to identify each other, that they were old lovers. And they started arguing. This Laura started arguing with Gonzalo. Why? Because Gonzalo was showing some irresponsible behaviors. So after some times they started arguing with each other, quarreling. They made use of snuff, and after that snuff, after using tobacco, they become friends. There was a peace between Donna Laura and Don Gonzalo. Now they started talking as if they were old friends. And in that conversation, Donna Laura come to know that Don Gonzalo is from Valencia. When she heard the name of Valencia, it is a town, it is a city. By hearing that name, she was surprised. Why? Because she was also from that city, Valencia. And when suddenly Gonzalo says, once he met a beautiful lady in Marisela Villa in Valencia city. Marisela Villa. Villa is a big bungalow. That bungalow name is Marisela. In that bungalow, there stayed a beautiful woman. She was called as Silver Maiden in that Valencia city. That girl is very much beautiful. When Donna Laura heard Gonzalo that he met that beautiful woman who lived in Valencia, who lived in Marisela Villa, she was started observing Gonzalo. And why? Because that silver lady that silver lady is Laura himself. So she started observing Gonzalo, and she identified that Gonzalo is her old lover. But she don't want to tell him that she is the silver maiden. She is his old lover. She tries to cover up her identity. Why? Because now she become very much old. So now she don't want to reveal, and she don't want to tell him about her identity. After some times, after some conversation, Gonzalo also come to know that the old lady was sitting beside him in the bench is the girl, the silver maiden, Laura Laurenti, and once he was fallen in love with that lady. But he was also don't want to reveal his identity, that he was her old lover. Now the story is very much interesting, that each other they started trying to cover their identity, but they wanted to discuss their beautiful love story. Okay, now the situation is they are discussing their own love story as if their friends and their cousins' love story. Here Donna Laura covered her identity as the silver maiden who lived in that Marisela Villa is her friend, and Don Gonzalo covered his identity by telling that the fellow who loved that beautiful girl is his cousin. And they started discussing about their love story, how they used to carry out their love between each other. Gonzalo says, that Gonzalo every day he used to come by horse to meet that silver maiden, and that silver maiden was waiting in her window, and he used to carry one bouquet for her. When he tosses that bouquet, she would catch it in the morning. When in the afternoon he was going in the same path on the horseback, that time she used to return back that rose bouquet to the gallant young man, to Gonzalo's cousin. Like this, their love story was really very much attractive. Now they started recalling their old days. Then Gonzalo says, Gonzalo, and later in the afternoon the gallant horseman would return by the same path and catch the bouquet of flowers she would toss him. Am I right? Now, in the first stanza, Laura says, that his friend was waiting for the gallant man who would come by the horse and tosses rose bouquet towards her. And then Don Gonzalo says, in the morning he tosses that rose bouquet to her, but in the afternoon she tosses that rose bouquet to him. Like this, they are exchanging their love between each other. Donna Laura, yes, they wanted to marry her to merchant whom she would not have. Here they means that Laura Laurenti, the silver maiden's parents, wanted to marry her to the merchant. See, merchant means here ವ್ಯಾಪಾರಿ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಾಪಾರಿಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಒಬ್ಬ ಸಿಲ್ವರ್ ಮೇಡನ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಬ್ಬ ಹುಡುಗಿಯನ್ನು ಮದುವೆ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅವರ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಗಳು ಆಲೋಚಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದರು. ಬಟ್ ಶಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎನಿ ಲವ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್ ಮರ್ಚೆಂಟ್. she don't have any interest in merchant Gonzalo. And one night when my cousin waited under her window to hear her sing, this other person presented himself unexpectedly. See, now until here they recalled their sweet love story. Now they started discussing about the quarrel. Because of that quarrel they were separated forever. See, the quarrel between Gonzalo's cousin and this merchant. One day what happened, this Gonzalo's cousin, here you have to remember Gonzalo's cousin means Gonzalo himself. He was covering his identity as his cousin. Now his cousin was waiting under silver maiden's window to hear her sing. She was a nice singer. To hear her sing, one night his cousin came and he was waiting under her window. Suddenly this merchant came to his cousin, and there was a duel. There was a fight between merchant and this cousin, Gonzalo's cousin. Because of that quarrel, they were separated forever. Then Laura, and insulted your cousin. That merchant came suddenly and he was insulted your cousin Gonzalo. There was a quarrel between Gonzalo's cousin and merchant Laura, and later a duel. Duel means that quarrel becomes a fight. That was a big fight between your cousin and merchant Gonzalo. Yes, at sunrise on the beach, and the merchant was badly wounded. My cousin has to conceal himself for few days and later fly. Here, after that fight in the night, that fight was happened between merchant and cousin. In the morning at sunrise on the beach, this Gonzalo's cousin found, and the the merchant found on the beach badly wounded. This merchant was wounded badly by Gonzalo's cousin, and then my cousin has to conceal. Conceal means hide, because her parents would kill his cousin. So because his cousin bet merchant badly. This merchant was wounded badly, so his cousin must hide. Then after few days, so his cousin hid in somewhere in the Valencia town. After few days, he escaped from that town, from that city to another place. Fly means he went away from Valencia to another place. Then Laura, you seem to know the story well. I think Gonzalo, you know the story, love story of your cousin very well. Then Gonzalo, and so do you. I think Laura, you also know your friend's love story well. With these sentences, we come to know that they already identified that Gonzalo identified that Laura is his beloved, and Laura identified that Gonzalo is his beloved. Then, her beloved. Laura, I have explained that a friend repeated it to me. Already I told you that my friend told about her love story, everything to me. Then Gonzalo, in the same way my cousin did to me, as my cousin did to me. This is Laura. See, then Gonzalo says, like your friend explained to you, in the same way my cousin said everything in detail to me. Aside, Gonzalo telling himself that this is Laura. Now he identified that old lady sitting beside him in that bench is Laura, is his beloved girl. Then Donna Laura, aside, why tell him? He does not suspect. Why shall I now? Laura was also identified him. He is Gonzalo. The person, the old man who was sitting beside her is her beloved. Then she don't want to tell him. Why tell him? Then she says, why shall I tell him? He does not suspect. He don't have any suspect on me that I am his beloved. So I don't want to tell him. Then Gonzalo aside, she is entirely innocent. Now Gonzalo is also thinking that she fails to identify him. Why? Because he is now looking very much aged. She is entirely innocent means she unable to find Gonzalo is her old lover. Then Laura, and was it you by any chance who advised your cousin to forget Laura? Then Donna Laura wanted to bring a twist in this story, and now she wanted to quarrel with Gonzalo that he escaped from Valencia by forgetting her love. Then now she says, I think you are the person who advised your cousin to forget Laura, to forget that silver maiden. Gonzalo, why my cousin never forget her? Then Gonzalo says, I never told like this to forget Laura. And one more thing, my cousin never forgot her. You are just thinking, that my cousin forgot Laura, but here my cousin did not forgot her. Donna Laura, how do you account then for his conduct? Account means report. How can you tell that your cousin did not forget my friend Laura? Then, for his conduct, what proof do you have about his conduct means about his behavior that he did not forget my friend Laura? Gonzalo, I will tell you the story what happened to my cousin. Because of those circumstances, my cousin flew away from Valencia, and he started telling a false story that The young man took refuge in my house. My cousin, after that quarrel with merchant, my cousin has to stay in hide. He has to stay in secret. So he come to my house to get shelter. See, fearful. He came to me fearfully of the consequence of duel with a person highly regarded in that locality. That person, that merchant is highly regarded. Regarded means praised in that locality, in the Valencia town. That merchant was really very much famous. After quarreling with that person, my cousin has to stay in secret. From my home, he went to Sevilla directly. From my home, in secret, he escaped and he flew to Sevilla and then came to Madrid. After that, he came to Madrid. He wrote Laura many letters. See, after escaping from Valencia, he wrote many letters to Laura. Some of them in verses. So many verses means poems. So many poems also he wrote for her. But undoubtedly they were intercepted by her parents. But no reply came by Laura. So he thought that undoubtedly all my letters were intercepted means taken by her parents. Her parents were not allowed to reach my letters to Laura, for she never answered at all, so she was unable to give answer for my letters. Gonzalo, then in despair means without any way. Now Gonzalo don't find any way to reach his beloved Laura. So in despair, in that feeling, in that sorrow, believing his love lost to him forever, he believed that he lost Laura because he don't have any way to get back his beloved Laura. So he thought that he lost her forever. So he joined army. He joined African army, went to Africa, and there in a trench, in a canal, in a big canal, met a glorious death. In that army, in the canal, he met a glorious death, grasping the flag of Spain and whispering the name of his beloved Laura. Now, grasping means holding the flag of Spain. When he was in the army, he got a glorious death. When he was dying, he got a Spanish flag, and he, with the last breath, he took the name of his beloved Laura, and he died in that trench, in that big canal. Donna Laura. Now she come to know that whatever he is telling about his cousin's death, that is totally false story. She come to know that. Why? Because that cousin who was covering, Gonzalo was covering the story with the cousin, and now still Gonzalo was alive and sitting in front of Laura. That story he was telling, that belongs to him only. He is telling about his story. Then Donna Laura come to know that what an atrocious lie, what a terrible lie you are telling, Gonzalo. You are still alive, sitting in front of me, and you are telling that in the remembrance of Laura, you died in the African army by remembering your beloved Laura. How atrocious, what a terrible lie you are telling, Gonzalo, Laura says. Then Gonzalo, aside, I could not have killed myself for glorious. See, he says himself that this much glorious death I should not knit, I should not tell for myself. Then Laura, you must have been prostrated by the calamity. See, when you lost your cousin, I think you are always you are very much sorrowful. Calamity means with that sad story. You must be with that tragic story of your cousin's death. You must be very much frustrated. You must be very much sad. Then Gonzalo, yes, indeed, Sinora. Yes, you are right, madam, because my cousin is like my brother. As if he were my brother. My cousin is my brother. I presume, though, on the contrary, that Laura in a short time was chasing butterfly in garden, indifferent to regret. Now I believe that my cousin is like my brother. And he says that I was feeling very much sorrow about my cousin, but I am thinking that Laura is happy with, see, it means Laura in a short time was chasing butterflies in garden, means she may get a happy life with another person, different to regret. To regret means to come out all her sorrows. Laura may get married with another person, and she may living a happy life. Then when Gonzalo says Laura was living happy life with another person, then Laura says, no, Sinor, no. She says, my friend Laura is also not living a happy life with another person. And she says, Gonzalo says, it is a woman's way. Yes, women are like this. They can forget persons very much easily, because women's life is like that. They don't have any independent identity. They have to depend on their families. So he says it is a woman's way. Women's life is like this. Then Donna Laura, even if it were women's way, yes, you are right, women are always dependent. Then also the silver maiden is not like that. The silver maiden was not of that disposition. She don't have that woman's way. She has a different opinion for her love. And what happened to silver maiden, we will see with the Laura's story. My friend waited news for days, months, and a year, and no letter came. Laura also knit up a cock and bull story for her friend Laura, and she says, when your cousin escaped from Valencia, after that my friend Laura waited for the letter from your cousin. She waited for days, months, and for a year. No letter, no reply came from your cousin. So one afternoon, just at sunset in the evening, as the first stars were appearing in the evening, there was a first star in the sky. She was seen to leave the house. She left her own house, and with quickening steps, fastly she moved, went her way towards the beach. Fastly she left her house, and fastly she went towards the beach where her beloved had risked his life. She reached the beach where your cousin fought with the merchant, where your cousin risked his love life, and she wrote his name on the sand. On the sand she wrote his name, your cousin's name, and then sat down upon a rock beside the sea. She sat down on a rock, and her gaze fixed upon the horizon. She fixed her gaze at the end of that sea. The waves murmured their eternal threnody and slowly crept up to the rock where the maiden sat. The waves of the sea, they murmured and they crept slowly, they crawled towards my friend, and those hard waves took my friend with them forever. Then the tide rose with a boom and swept her out to sea. See, the tide means the big waves rose with a boom. Boom means burst. Big waves of those seas burst on my friend and they took her out to sea. They took her into the sea. Like this, my friend Laura also got the death in the remembrance of your friend. Then Gonzalo, good heavens, what happened to your friend? She was also died. Like that, he exclaimed here. Laura, the fisherman of that shore who often tell the story affirm means correct stories and true stories. That is, that it was a long time before the waves washed away that name written on the sand. You will not get ahead of me in decorating my own funeral. See, here, when Gonzalo asked that, really your friend Laura died, then Laura says, that fisherman of that seashore, one who saw my friend went and swept in the sea, who says that, see, that name written on the sand went with her. And the fisherman who told about the death of my friend Laura's, she told about Laura's death. And after that, aside, Laura was telling herself that you will not get ahead of me in decorating my own funeral. Funeral means death. Here, Gonzalo, I cannot decorate my own death like this, after this. This is how I put an end to my love story. Like that, Donna Laura expressing beside in secret from Gonzalo. Gonzalo, aside, she lies worse than I do. And Gonzalo already identified that lady is his beloved. And he says, I lied about my cousin. Laura is also lying about her friend, and her lie is worse than me. Then Laura, poor Laura. See, Laura says, poor Laura died in the remembrance of her beloved. Gonzalo says, poor Gonzalo. That poor Gonzalo, my cousin, is died in the remembrance of his beloved. They were poor. Like this, they got a tragic love story. Then Laura, I will not tell him that I married 2 years later. Now Laura is telling about the life she led when she was separated from Gonzalo. See what happened after separating Gonzalo. She got married with the merchant, and after 2 years she got married, and 2 years she got married. Then Gonzalo says, she talks about his life after separating with Laura. Then he says, aside, in 3 months I ran off to Paris with a ballet dancer. See, Gonzalo says, after within three months I escaped with the ballet dancer to Paris. There I got married with her. See, then Laura, fate is curious. Here are you and I, completely stranger, met by chance, discussing the romance of our old friends of long ago. We have been conversing as if we were old friends. See, conversing means talking. Here, Donna Laura feeling sad that fate is like this. Those lovers got a very much a tragic love story. But here you and I, before when we entered this garden, we are strangers. We strangers met by chance and now started discussing about the romantic love story of our old friends long ago. See, long ago means before many years of love story of our friends. We have been conversing, we have been talking. Now, by talking about their love story, we become a good friends now. like this they tries to hide their identity. Okay, this is wonderful tragic love story of Don Gonzalo and Donna Laura. But after some years they met. Now they are not ready to reveal their identity because there are two reasons here. One reason is now they become very much ugly. They don't want to reveal their identity, and they don't want to dissatisfy their beloveds, because when they were young those memories they wanted to stay in their those memories they wanted to continue with their remaining life. One more thing, they don't want to reveal their identity. Why? Because they don't feel that they were cheated each other. Here, if Donna Laura says that she is his beloved and she was thinking that what Gonzalo will think, that I was cheated him and I was got married with the another person. So she stopped to tell him that, she stopped herself to tell him that she is his beloved. And in the same way, Gonzalo also don't want to tell him that he is her beloved. Why? Because he is also become old. And one more thing, she would not think that he cheated her. Okay, because of two reasons. These two reasons, they hide their own love affairs, and now they are telling those friends, and those friends died in the remembrance of each other. And one more thing is, here they come to know about that whatever the story they tell about their death was false. Okay, this is what we studied until here, and the remaining part of the lesson we will continue with the next lesson. Okay, thank you.